सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
If I were to indulge myself with just that one national interest article about cricket with the World Cup on in India, this is the best time for me to do it. Because once the cup is won or lost, there will be 1.43 billion opinions and the real Gyanis will then be talking. This week, however, I will talk about cricket and also throw in Kabaddi with a garnish of football sprinkled as well. So be warned early on. I am also talking mostly not about cricket as in the game. It's about much else that emanates from it. Nationalism, politics, emotion, you take your pick. I'd pick all of the three. Nationalism, politics, emotion. With just a few games remaining before the knockouts, we've seen upsets and the odd close game. Think of that Pakistan-South Africa game, for example. But have you noticed how cordial and friendly the encounters have been? Almost no words exchanged between players. Forget what the commentators say outside. Mostly among the players, mostly just a lot of smiles. A few shrugs every now and then, frowns you would expect often, unhappiness at umpiring, including DRS, shouts of disapproval when a fellow fielder messes up. But among themselves, the players, the rival players have been sporting, even good humoured. Never mind some controversies, the most prominent or the loudest one being the crowd at Ahmedabad's Narendra Modi Stadium during the India-Pakistan match. But remember, that was also about the crowds, about spectators, not about players. The important thing is the players have stayed out of it. The Pakistanis have provided entertainment on the side, some funny, some of it not quite so. All of it, however, is at the cost of their own team and their own board. However, their team might perform finally if there were two more medals on the side for the best memes, one for the best memes and the second for the most rollicking sense of humor in the course of this World Cup, the Pakistanis would have no competition. They'll take both the medals home. Abuse, if anything, is directed entirely at their own board and sometimes, unfortunately, at some players, but their own players. That said, we return to the three aspects of this great 6-week event we posited for discussion this week. Nationalism, politics and emotion. Why has this been such a good humoured tournament? There have been great successes, disappointments, upsets, misses, umpiring complaints, and yet among the players it's an outbreak of peace you wouldn't expect in an international event of such intensity. International cricket has in fact followed this course for some time. India played a purely cricketing role in triggering that change. The momentum of Steve Waugh's all-conquering Australian or of that epoch was broken by Saurav Ganguly's challengers, who also established a balance of power in the game and in sledging. So a little bit of balance of terror in sledging as well. The Aussies haven't been quite like that since, and generally the cricket field has calmed down. This is not to say there is no display of emotion or disagreement. In fact, even in the last series India played in Australia, there were moments, there were exchanges, there was also the brain fade in Bengaluru. There have been controversies, including ball tampering. Overall, however, among rival players, relationships have improved. Before the India-Pakistan match, for example, Shaheen Shah Afridi congratulated Jasprit Bumrah on the birth of his child, a compliment from one top pacer to the other, who both, by the way, would, when it comes to the game, would probably try to crush the other one's toe with a deadly Yorker, swinging deadly Yorker. Pakistan captain Babar Azam had Virat Kohli publicly and on camera sign an India shirt for a nephew. So calm have things looked that it has caused some old-timers consternation. If Babar really wanted that shirt for his nephew, said former Pakistani great Wasim Akram, who's now a commentator, he should have done it in the dressing room, not in public. While Akram was obviously hurting after the loss to India and thought that such cordiality took away his team's intensity, he does not understand how the nature of cricketing rivalries has changed from his era. To understand this change better, I have to take you from cricket to Kabaddi. So what do names like Amir Hussain Bastami, Mohammad Raza Kabudra Hangi, Milad Jabbari and Wahid Rezai Meher, what do these names mean to you? They sound so foreign and so Iranian. None of these is a cricketer, that you will know. Also that these sound like names from Iran, where cricket is hardly played, at least not competitively. These are, however, among the most popular Iranian Kabaddi stars. To understand why we have dragged them into what looked like a discussion on the Cricket World Cup, I have to take you back to the India-Iran Kabaddi final for gold and silver medals at the Hangzhou Asian Games just 28 days ago. If you didn't watch that incredible game, do so now, and it will help you understand this argument about sport and nationalism, politics and emotion better. With just 1.5 minutes to go, the teams were tied 28-28. Gold medal, by the way, was at stake. Teams were tied 28-28. Indian captain Pawan Sehrawat went in for a do-or-die raid. He, incidentally, is the greatest superstar in the Kabaddi world today. He had an Iranian defender stray out of the field, thereby winning a point for India. But while escaping, he was caught in a melee of defenders. All of them were dragged out into what is called as a lobby area, which means the sidelines of the Kabaddi field. The umpire was unsure what to do. Should he penalize the attacker as well as the 5 defenders? So it would be 5-1 in India's favor. That would make it 33-29 points in favor of India, or make it just 1-1 or 29-29. That's because one Indian defender was caught there, and also because one Iranian defender had earlier got out, so that penalty to the Iranians, and the other 4, because Indian defender had already gone out, they were not to be penalized. That would have made the score 29-29 or equal. The twist was that in amateur Kabaddi, the rule would have given India 5-1. But under the new rules followed by the Pro Kabaddi League, the game's equivalent of the IPL, also owned by India, the score would have been 1-1. This rule, actually, the changed rule, has been tried experimentally in Pro Kabaddi League to see if this will become fairer, so it can be also then brought into the amateur Kabaddi tournaments. Hasn't happened yet. This dispute, however, held up the gold medal game for almost an hour. The Iraqi referee came in, pronounced in favor of Iran, times have changed, and grandly stated that, and I quote him, that this is the rule I've been teaching kids all my life. The Pakistani Secretary General of Asian Kabaddi Federation endorsed him. The Indian captain and coach kept arguing, as did just a couple of Iranians, but all in a perfectly civil manner, all looking at the monitor, all looking at slow motion replays of what had happened with the officials. The rest of the players sat peacefully on the pitch with calm you would never expect from top competitors when the gold is at stake. They waited as the jury met, and its Kenyan head, a woman, Laventer Oguta, ruled in favor of India. No protests, no abuse, no throwing of things. Normally, you would have expected fisticuffs to break out and maybe multiple disqualifications. Of course, no such thing happened. Of course, the Sports Star article by Lavanya Lakshmi Narayanan, from which I take this detail about the match, also noted that the Iranians wore their silver medals like albatrosses around their necks. They were not happy. They showed the unhappiness, but they were not unruly. Now return with me to the Iranian names I listed earlier. Those are only 4 of the 13 Iranian stars who came in to play in the last Pro Kabaddi League in India for different Indian franchises. Which franchises? Puneri Paltan from Pune, Tamil Thadaivas, Telugu Titans, Mumba, UP Yodhas, and so on. Both the Indians and Iranian players were now competing for national glory, but in club Kabaddi, they were often teammates. There was too much familiarity and camaraderie for anything ugly to break out now. To understand this better, let me share some numbers. Besides the 13 Iranians, Kenya, Taiwan, England, Kenya actually has 3, Kenya, Taiwan has 2, Kenya, Taiwan, England, Sri Lanka, Poland, Iraq, Nepal and Bangladesh also had players in the Pro Kabaddi League in India. Exactly this has been happening to international cricket for 15 years now since the IPL began. It spawned similar leagues in many countries including Pakistan, don't forget South Africa. The players who face each other for their national teams are also often teammates in franchises. In any case, there is much travel and sharing and friendships develop over time as well. It is these relationships that, even if they cannot transcend the boundaries of nationalism and political differences among their countries, greatly smoothen their emotions. Indians and Pakistanis may not be playing in each other's leagues, but check out the rest. 13 current Aussie and English players, 13 Aussie and 13 English players have come to the IPL. Add to this 12 New Zealanders, 7 South Africans, 7 Afghans, 4 Sri Lankans, 3 Bangladeshis, even one from the Netherlands. He plays for Delhi in fact. Many of them also play in the leagues elsewhere in other countries. When you spend so much time together, especially as club franchise teammates, it does have a healing effect. We have seen this over the decades much earlier with football, with club loyalties and professionalism softening hard nationalism. I wrote a national interest making a similar point in June 2000, inspired by watching Euro 2000 in that year, 23 years back. Much of that is playing out in cricket right now. Check out that article, Sport Without Borders. I'll share a link with you with the description. The reason we brought in Kabaddi in this argument is precisely because it explains the change even better. If these edges can be smoothened in a purely physical contact sport, why not in relatively genteel cricket? That the home of the top leagues in both the games, cricket and Kabaddi, happens to be in India, obviously doesn't hurt.